My name is Camila, and for most of my life, my mother had one favorite sentence for me: swallow it for the family. If my sister insulted me, swallow it for the family. If my brother used my things without asking, swallow it for the family. If I cried because something was unfair, stop making drama, Camila. Swallow your pride. We are family. I thought that was normal. I thought that's what good daughters did. Take every hit, every insult, every humiliation, and swallow it. But then came the one situation I couldn't swallow. The day my mother told me her favorite grandson didn't feel like mine, and a DNA test, a simple piece of paper, finally showed whose child he really was. Not just biologically, emotionally, historically. The DNA didn't only expose a father. It exposed my mother's lies, her favoritism, and the way she had trained me to disappear so my sister could shine. I grew up as the middle child. My older sister, Juliana, was the golden girl. My younger brother, Pedro, was the baby of the family. Me? I was available to help, available to fix, available to be blamed. If Juliana forgot something at school, my mom yelled at me, "Why didn't you remind your sister?" If Pedro broke a plate, my mom sighed. "Camila, why weren't you watching him?" When I tried to defend myself, she would cut me off. Stop answering back. Learn to swallow it. Family comes first. Juliana could get away with anything. Bad grades? She's just stressed. Partying too late. She's young, let her live. Boyfriends coming and going. At least the boys like her. When I had my first boyfriend at 18, my mother's tone was very different. "Be careful," she warned. "Don't get pregnant. Don't embarrass this family. You're not like your sister. You can't afford mistakes." I broke up with that boy after a few months. I was terrified of disappointing her. Juliana, on the other hand, moved in with her boyfriend Lucas when she was 22. My mother cried for 3 days and then forgave everything the moment Juliana announced she was pregnant. From that day, the pregnancy became my mother's entire world. Her first grandchild. Her future little prince. She called the baby my boy long before he was born. She bought clothes, painted a room in her house, told everyone at church the universe had finally given her what she deserved. And she did something else. She decided that my role in all of this was to support quietly. "Camila," she said one afternoon, "you'll help with whatever Juliana needs. Pregnancy is hard. Don't argue, don't complain. Swallow your selfishness for the family." So I went to prenatal appointments with Juliana when Lucas was busy. I helped her set up the crib. I was the one who stayed up late comparing stroller models online. Sometimes I felt more like the second parent than the aunt. Lucas was present but inconsistent. He always had an excuse: work, traffic, too tired. I didn't like him much. Something about him felt slippery. But if I said anything, my mother snapped. "Swallow it, Camila. He's the father of my grandson. Don't ruin this." The day my nephew was born, I was the one holding Juliana's hand in the delivery room. Lucas arrived later, with flowers and a big shining smile for the cameras. My mother cried harder than anyone, clutching the baby. "My boy," she whispered. "My beautiful boy." She named herself second mom from that day on. For 2 years, that child was the center of her universe. She bought him more clothes than Juliana could store. She canceled plans to babysit him. She showed his photos to strangers in the supermarket. Whenever I visited, it was the same. "This is my boy," she would say proudly, bouncing him on her hip. "The only one who really looks like our family." That phrase always stung a little. We had cousins, other kids around, but for my mother, this boy was special, sacred. If I dared to suggest something different from Juliana's choices, about food, bedtime, anything, my mother would say, "Camila, don't start. You don't have children. Swallow your opinion. Swallow, swallow, swallow." When I was 28, I got pregnant. The father, Andre, was my long-term boyfriend. Stable, kind, nothing dramatic. I was terrified to tell my mother. Not because of him, but because in my head, nothing I did could compete with Juliana's crown of gave birth to the first grandson. I prepared a little surprise. A mug that said "Best Grandma of T.O." I thought she'd be happy. She opened the box, read the mug, and froze. "Two?" she repeated. I smiled nervously. "I'm pregnant," I said. "You're going to have another grandchild." She forced a thin smile. "Oh, congratulations," she said. "That's nice, nice, that was it." No screaming joy, no crying, no dancing around the kitchen like she did with Juliana. Later that night, I heard her on the phone with her sister. "Well, yes, Camila's pregnant too," she said. "But you know how it is. It's not the same. The first one will always be my boy." I sat in the hallway, hand on my small belly, listening. Something inside me hardened a little that day. My pregnancy moved forward quietly. She went to 2 of my appointments, just to compare everything to Juliana's experience. Juliana didn't gain weight like this. Juliana didn't have this kind of heartburn. Juliana looked more radiant. Every sentence was a comparison I never asked for. When my son Leo was born, she visited the hospital, smiled politely, held him for a few minutes, then said, "He's cute, but he looks more like Andre's family." "My boy still looks more like us," I swallowed. When Leo was 3 months old, the difference in treatment was brutal. If Juliana called and said, "Mom, I'm tired," my mother would rush to her house and take the boy for the day. If I called and said, "Mom, could you come help for a couple of hours?" she would sigh. "I'm not a nanny, Camilla. You chose to have a child. Be responsible. Swallow your complaints." She rarely posted photos with Leo. Her social media was a shrine to my sister's son, the love of my life, my reason to wake up, my first and only true joy. One day, my aunt asked in the family group, "And Leo? He's your grandson too." My mother replied, "Of course he is. But you know, the bond I have with Juliana's boy is different. I was there from the first second with him. I was there from the first second with Leo. But apparently, that didn't count. The turning point came when both boys were around 4 years old. My nephew, let's call him Davi, had always been extremely attached to my mother. He called her Vovo like she was his second mom. My mother loved to repeat, "He's my soul's child. We're the same." One afternoon, we were all at my mother's house, me, Juliana, the kids. The boys were playing in the living room. My mother was in the kitchen, humming, making snacks just for Davy. She didn't even ask what Leo wanted. I watched her put extra cheese on Davi's plate, then look at Leo and say, "You're fine with just the simple one, right? Davi is picky." Leo stared at the plate sadly. I felt anger rise in my chest. But as always, I started to swallow it. Then I heard something from the living room. Davi was playing with toy doctors. He looked at Juliana and said, "Mom, did you know I'm not really Daddy's son?" The room froze. Juliana laughed nervously. "Who told you that, Davy?" He shrugged. "Grandma," he said. "She said sometimes blood is complicated, but love is what matters. She said I look like my real dad more than Lucas anyway." My heart dropped. I looked at my mother. She froze too, spatula in the air. Juliana's face went pale. "Mom?" Juliana whispered. "What is he talking about?" My mother stuttered. "He's a child, he imagines things." Davi interrupted, still playing. "You said maybe the man from the pharmacy could be my real dad because he has eyes like mine." Silence. You could hear the refrigerator humming. Juliana stood up slowly. "Mom, kitchen, now." They went into the kitchen and tried to close the door, but I heard every word. Juliana's voice was shaking. "You told my son that Lucas might not be his father?" My mother snapped back. "I didn't say it like that. I just said that when you were with that man from the pharmacy, there was a chance." Juliana screamed. "You told me it was definitely Lucas. You swore there was no doubt. You begged me to stay with him for the family image." My mother hissed. And I was right. Lucas is a good provider. He loves that boy. What difference does biology make now? Swallow this, Juliana. For your son. For the family. There it was again. The magic verb. Swallow. Only now it was about a child's entire identity. Juliana wasn't swallowing this time. "I want a DNA test," she said. "Today." My mother tried everything. "Don't be stupid. Do you want to destroy your home? He's your baby no matter what. Think of your son, not your pride. Swallow it for the family." Juliana was shaking. "For years, you told me to swallow everything," she said. "Lucas' cheating rumors, his late nights, your manipulations. Now you're telling my son that his dad might not be his dad, and I'm supposed to swallow that too? I stepped into the kitchen. For once, I said quietly, don't ask us to swallow anything. Just tell the truth. My mother looked at me like I'd betrayed her. You stay out of this, Camila. You always overreact. This is adult stuff. I almost laughed. We are adults, I said. And we're tired of being treated like children who have to swallow your secrets. In the end, Juliana made an appointment at a lab. To avoid drama, she asked me to go with her and Davy. Lucas thought it was a routine checkup. The whole time we were in the waiting room, my mother bombarded us with messages. This is unnecessary. You're going to regret opening this door. Swallow your doubts and protect your son. Juliana's hands were shaking when they took the samples. Davy thought it was a game. A week later, the results were ready. Juliana begged me to be there when she opened them. We went to my apartment, sat at the table, and stared at the envelope. My heart was pounding even though it wasn't my child. Juliana whispered, "If he's not Lucas's, everything will fall apart," I answered. "If he is, you'll still know the truth. No more what ifs, no more swallowing." She opened the envelope. Her eyes scanned the paper. Silence. Tears started rolling down her face. "Lucas Up is not the biological father," she said, voice barely audible. For a second, I felt like all the air left the room. Not because of Lucas, he had always been questionable, but because of what this meant. My mother had known there was doubt. She had pushed Juliana to stay with Lucas anyway for the family. She had built her entire identity around this favorite grandson who looked like our family, when she wasn't even sure who the father was. Juliana broke down. "It's that man from the pharmacy," she sobbed. "I know it. I always suspected. But Mom said I was overreacting. She told me to swallow it and move on. She said Lucas was the safer choice." I hugged her. For the first time in years, I saw my big sister not as the golden child, but as someone who had been swallowed by our mother's decisions just like me. Later that evening, we went to my mother's house with the results. She opened the door with a forced smile. "My girls," she said. "Can we please forget this?" And Juliana threw the paper on the table. "They confirmed it," she said. "Lucas is not Davi's biological father." My mother picked up the paper. Her hands trembled, but her mouth was stubborn. "So what?" she said. "You have a good life. Lucas loves that boy. Why do you need more? Why can't you just swallow this and move on like I did when your father?" She cut herself off. "Too late." Juliana's eyes widened. "Like you did when my father what?" she demanded. My mother went pale. "Nothing," she muttered. "That's not important now," I stepped in. "No," I said. "This is important. You've spent our whole lives making us swallow things for the family. How many secrets are we swallowing that should have been yours to carry, not ours?" My mother's mask finally cracked. She sat down heavily and started talking about my father, about his affairs, about almost leaving him when we were little, about being pregnant and not being entirely sure whose child Juliana was, about staying anyway for the family image. She had built an entire religion around swallowing humiliation, swallowing doubt, swallowing identity. And then she passed that religion on to us. In her twisted way, she thought she was protecting us, but we were the ones choking. Juliana listened, then said, "I'm done swallowing for you. I will decide what to do with Lucas. You don't get to tell my son half-truths and then demand my silence." My mother turned to me. "And you?" she snapped. "Are you going to attack me too? After everything I did for you?" I felt strangely calm. "No," I said. "I'm just going to stop swallowing things that don't belong to me." I looked at Leo playing on the floor. "For years, you made me swallow your favoritism," I continued. "Every time you called Davy the love of your life and ignored Leo, I told myself to swallow it for the family. But this DNA test showed something. Your favorite grandson is the one whose life you controlled the most. My son may not be your favorite, but he is mine. And I will not teach him to swallow what hurts him just to keep you comfortable." The weeks that followed were chaos. Juliana told Lucas the truth. He was devastated, furious, confused. He threatened to leave, then he didn't. He wanted his own DNA test. It matched the lab's result. He considered walking away, then looked at Davi and saw the boy who had called him dad since birth. In the end, Lucas stayed as a father by choice, not biology. It was hard. There were tears, therapy, long conversations. But at least it was honest. My mother, meanwhile, lost the control she had always had. Juliana stopped running every decision by her. I stopped asking for her approval at all. One day, she complained, "You girls are cold now. Ever since that DNA test, everything changed." I answered, "No, Mom. The DNA didn't change anything. It just exposed what was already there, your secrets, your favoritism, and the way you taught us to sacrifice ourselves for your version of family." She looked at Leo and Davy playing together. "Do you hate me?" she asked quietly. I thought about it. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just refuse to swallow your mistakes anymore. You are still my mother. But I will be a different kind of mother to my son." Now, when Leo comes home from school and says, "Mom, my friend hurt my feelings, but the teacher said to just ignore it," I kneel down, look him in the eyes, and tell him, "You don't have to swallow things that hurt you. You can choose when to speak, when to walk away, and when to stay. Your feelings matter." The DNA test didn't just reveal who fathered my nephew. It revealed who had been fathering and mothering our silence all these years. My mom still struggles. Some days she still slips and says, "Can't you just swallow it this once, for me?" I smile sadly and answer, "No, Mom. That's one family tradition that ends with me." If you like stories about messy families, hidden truths, and women who finally stop swallowing other people's problems, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories.